Welcome, everyone. We want to thank you for joining us this evening. Just some housekeeping notes before we get started. I've already gone ahead and muted everyone. Dawn and Jamil, you'll need to unmute yourselves. Since we expect a large number of people participating and joining us tonight, we're asking everyone to please use the Zoom chat to write your messages in there, and during the meeting we'll collect all those messages, and at the end of the presentation we'll give them to Jamil. With that, I'd like to introduce Dawn Hammond, the ATA president.
Welcome, everybody. We're delighted that you're here. We're so glad to have a big crowd. We're all looking forward to that big party in Boston in 2026, and we've come to hear some highlights this evening. These programs begin ATA's 75th anniversary celebration. We're so pleased to have many people who are not yet ATA members. If you enjoy the programs as much as all the rest of us do, please take a look at our website and see all of the wonderful benefits of ATA membership. We'd love to have you join us. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Yamil Kouri. Dr. Kouri wears many hats. Of course, he's a stamp collector, but he's also an exhibitor, a judge, a chief judge. He's won many high awards within our hobby, and now he's doing a very generous thing to be the president of the Boston World Expo for 2026. He's gonna tell us some highlights of the show, and I think we're all already excited about it, but we'll be even more so at the end of this evening. Jamil?
Thank you. Thank you very much, all, and Dawn, for inviting me to share with you the progress that we made in the preparations for Boston 2026, which is 4 years and a few months away. Incredibly how quickly time flies. We started preparing for this in 2013 with Mark Borderline, who's here with us, our executive director, Nancy Clark, who sadly passed last week, and myself. And we thought it was very far away, and now it's around the corner. Boston 2026 World Expo is the 12th international philatelic exhibition in the United States. These shows have traditionally been taking place every decade for more than a century. And they are typically not only the largest show in the United States for the year and for the decade, but also in the world by far. It has the sanction of a World Philatelic entity called the International Federation of Philately, and of course the blessings of the American Philatelic Society. I apologize in advance. I'm a bit under the weather. The show will take place at the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center, a state-of-the-art facility which is incredibly well located and so convenient that is unparalleled. Who puts together this show? Well, the organizing committee. We have a wonderful team in partnership with the American Philatelic Society, the United States Postal Service, the Smithsonian National Postal Museum, and the nearby Spelman Museum of Stamps and Postal History in Weston, Massachusetts, in the campus of Regis College, just 20-something miles from downtown Boston. In addition, there are countless of philatelic organizations, supporters, and volunteers, for which we like to call this show a collector-supported exhibition. And indeed, without the help of all the volunteers and supporters, the show could never take place. Very briefly, I'm going to show you these slides will be available later for you to spend more time. We have a wonderful team of dedicated volunteers, very competent. The team is growing as we find new positions to be filled. The amount of work is increasing exponentially. And we also have very experienced advisors who have put together national and international shows at different levels who are supporting us behind the scenes. The time of the year when Boston 2026 will take place is from the 23rd to the 30th of May. springtime in Boston, which is an absolutely gorgeous time of the year to visit Boston. I'm showing you some of the sites very close to where the show will take place, both sightseeing areas, historical sites. This is the old British Customs House in the left lower corner, the USS Constitution in the left upper corner, the Boston Tea Party, which is within walking distance of the convention center on the right upper corner, and the statue of Paul Revere, and the North Church on the right lower corner. And Boston is one of the capitals of culture in the United States, the Museum of Fine Arts, the Museum of Science, the Museum of Contemporary Art, literally a few blocks from the convention center, and the Kennedy Library and Museum a short ride away. Walking around Boston, Boston is a walkable city by and large. On the right lower corner, you see the Rose Kennedy Greenway. This was a highway that was planted over, and now there's a lot of parks and entertainments. This is also within walking distance from the convention center. We have on the other side of the river, MIT on the top right and Harvard on the top left. Very gorgeous places to visit, Harvard Square, etc. And the oldest baseball stadium in the United States, or major leagues, Fenway Park in the left lower corner, also fairly close to the convention center. U.S. independence has been celebrated in Boston big time. There will be major celebrations. We are part of a group called Revolution 250, which has been putting together commemorative events marking the some of the events that took place leading to the American Revolution and War of Independence in 1777. On the bottom right, I used to live in that town, Lexington. In April 19th of 1775, the battles of Lexington and Concord are still commemorated with reenactments. There'll be multiple activities to celebrate the 250th anniversary in Boston at that time. The Convention and Exhibition Center is incredibly conveniently located, both within the city of Boston and the airport. I have been to, I'm not exaggerating, about 100 international shows, and this is by far the easiest one to reach and the closest one to the city. There's been many shows that are close to the city, but excuse me, they're not easy to get to and from the airport. On the right of this panel, you see the Boston International Airport that has hundreds of daily flights domestically and internationally, and it's less than 2 miles from the convention center. And not only that, you can get free transportation leaving the airport to the convention center with the Silver Line of trains that drops you off literally in front of the convention center. It's also close to South Station, a major train hub in the area, a little over half a mile from there. Train and bus hub, and very close to the highway. So it's really easy to reach. And that area has an incredible amount of options in terms of entertainment, dining, shopping, culture, historical events, historical markers. The aquarium is within a few blocks from the convention center. And this is a very nice photo of the convention center, a wonderful state-of-the-art facility that we have rented for this period. This is a night view of the convention center. The exhibit space occupies 2 floors, the ground floor and the second floor. There's a 3rd floor where the ballroom is. Most of the meeting rooms are on the 2nd floor. And this is a very old, maybe 10-year-old photo of the convention center. The area where the convention center is called the Seaport District, which was a neglected part of the city for decades. And now, literally, every 3 months you go and you can't recognize the place. It's like mushrooms growing after a rainstorm. The development there is incredible. Right now, you used to be able to see the water, the Boston Harbor. Now you can't because there's buildings all over the place. But it's a bustling area with a brewery, with restaurants, you name it. It's really convenient. So briefly, the exhibition center comprises of 352 square feet of contiguous space. We rented halls A and B. I'll show you that in a moment. There's minimal pillar obstruction. The registration area, which we have access to, has 19,000 square feet. The state-of-the-art the technology and climate control, free Wi-Fi, well, free, we pay for it, but free for the exhibitors and visitors. There's 42 meeting rooms of various sizes that we have available for groups to meet, to have conferences, seminars, meetings at no charge to the group. I remember many of the European shows charge you if you need to rent a room to have a meeting. There's a ballroom that we have rented for the Palmares, 20,000 square feet ballroom with a capacity for 1,500 diners. There's a food court on site. There's a food court across the street from it, and there's countless restaurants in the area as well. For easy loading and unloading, for dealers, exhibitors, etc., there's 62 covered loading bays, very large and easy to access. There's ample on-site parking, over 2,000 spaces. And as I mentioned, it's easy to get to by public transportation and driving. These two panels show a layout of the floor. The top left is the lower level where the show floor is. There's 3 exhibit halls, A on the right, B in the middle, C on the left. We are not renting C. So these 2 exhibit halls, which go onto the second floor on the right lower panel, have 352,000 square feet. These are 2 escalators that, well, you see here, this is mezzanine area where we have the registration area. This is a street level. And there's a hotel here on the bottom of this panel and here on the right of this panel, which I'll show you in a moment. This is a view of one of the trade shows taking place, looking at it from the registration area. There's 2 escalators that go up and down on each side, leading to the show floor. There's a bridge that goes from one end to the other, and behind us there's Hall C, which we are not renting. We don't think we need that much space. By the way, if you guys attended New York, we have 25% more space than the show at the Javits in New York 2016 had. So we have a lot more room for exhibits and other participation. There are 2 show hotels that we have contracted. One connected directly on one of the sites of the convention center, the Westin Boston Seaport District Hotel. This is the headquarters of the show. And one across the street, connected by a tunnel, the Omni Boston Hotel at the Seaport. But in addition to that, we have contracted 6 other hotels. So far, 8 hotels. Will likely have more, all within a very short distance of the convention center. The farthest one is 4 blocks away. Most of them are on the same street as the convention center. So this is, instead of spending time traveling from your hotel to the show, to the airport, you can really make your visit as efficient as possible by not having to go far from the hotel to the show. We already have a decorator, Heritage, which does the APS annual gas shows. And we have a hotel room booking manager on peak that will be taking care of the reservations. Probably within a year of the opening of the show, we'll open up the room reservations. We have the commitment of several museums that will participate in the show. There's National Postal Museum of Smithsonian will have a presence there, the Spelman Museum of Stamps and Postal History, of course, and the Massachusetts Historical Society that has a lot of interesting documents that we expect will be displayed at the show, all related to the theme, the semi-quincentennial of the Declaration of Independence of the United States. We are very fortunate. Without this support, we could not put together this show. We have more than 100 individual financial supporters, including 27 different societies and organizations. Others will contribute as well. Many of you here have been generous donors. Some present here are members of the organizing committee. We're grateful to the ATA for its support and to many other societies that are indeed are partners in the success of this show. We have also secured a patron for a Polar Salon, which I will tell you about in a moment. This is a diagram of the booth locations. If you go to our website, boston2026.org, you will see an updated state of the booths that have been sold. And they appear in red. More than half have been sold. We still have quite a few booths, but again, remember, we're more than 2 years out. These are two, the street is here on the right of the panel. These rectangular things are escalators that go up and down to the registration area on both sides. This is the ABS booth. And I think that you have confirmed that one of these yellow booths will be the ATA booth. If you go to our website, we'll see every imaginable configuration. We have a lot of flexibility. There's multiple booths. They're very nice looking. And there's other humble booths that are a lot more economical. We're trying to make an effort to be as inclusive as possible. And the reality is that many dealers are either not young enough or don't have enough stock to do an 8-day show. So we have given them the option of a number of things. One is to do a half-day show option. They can either do the first 4 days or the last 4 days of the show, and they can also share the booth with another dealer, a maximum of 2 dealers per booth. Similarly, with societies that cannot find the staff to man or attend the booth for the 8 days, they have the option of sharing a booth with other similar interest societies, and there's no limit on the number of societies that can share a booth. In summary, the admission will be free. There'll be approximately 4,000 exhibit frames. Initially, we plan to build new frames. The reality is that there's no market in the United States and in many other places in the world for additional frames. Typically, what these shows have done is build new frames and then sell them to shows. But as sadly you probably realize, there's fewer and fewer shows. And what we decided to do to save money is to borrow frames from across the United States. We have done a survey. There's more than 8,000 frames available. We'll be borrowing some, refurbishing and inspecting them if necessary, storing them, labeling them, using them, and returning them. We think that will be more practical and economic. The U.S. Postal Service will have a presence there. Obviously, the American Philatelic Societies. We're in conversations with other collectible groups. That includes the Ephemera Society. They have committed to be there with a booth. I'm having a meeting in April with the American Numismatic Association. We have reached out to the Manuscript Society, to a number of banknote collecting groups. We're going to be talking to book antiquarians and to map collecting societies or dealers, because collectors collect, and I know very few people who only collect stamps or who started only with stamps. I collected a bunch of other things, and we have that collecting gene. So this is a way to cross-pollinate and to expand the horizons of collecting. And maybe we'll get new collectors. Maybe we'll be interested in other things. Why not? If we get dealers from other collectible societies, they will not compete with the philatelic dealers on the show floor. And we will sell booths that we need to sell to finance the show. My wife is very supportive, but one of the most boring things for her, unfortunately, is to go to a stamp show. So we're mindful of that. And for that reason, we're planning to bring non-philatelic displays for the public in general, both collecting and non-collecting. Excuse me. Which will be sports memorabilia, calligraphy exhibits, printing displays, etc. We're open to suggestions. If you have any ideas, please share them with us. If you have any contacts, by all means, we're welcome to find out about that and to reach out to them. As I mentioned earlier, several museums will have a presence. We expect, excuse me, to have daily first day cover ceremonies, both from the U.S. Postal Service and foreign postal administrations. We anticipate about 150 dealers and auction houses, 135 societies and organizations will be there, 50 international postal administrations, and there'll be literally hundreds, probably even 1,000 meetings, seminars, and events throughout the show in the rooms, in the exhibit rooms. I neglected to show you here, sorry to go back, these orange boxes on the second level of the show are the the meeting rooms. They can be adjusted in size, made bigger or smaller, and those are available free of charge to any convening or participating society. Um, Pavilions. We plan to divide the exhibit floor in different pavilions. The International Federation of Philately competition will have 4 pavilions, one for the United States, one for the Americas, one for Europe, and the other one for the rest of the world. In addition, there'll be a championship class for exhibits that have achieved 3 large gold medal levels within a decade in FIP shows. There'll be a court of honor. We plan to have a VIP section, a la Club de Monte Carlo, in which each exhibitor brings one item to show and put on the frame to be admired by everybody. Fortunately for us, the APS decided not to have a gas show in 2026, and that reduces the likelihood of exhibitor fatigue or dealer fatigue, for that matter. But the annual APS Champion and Champion competitions will take place at Boston 2026. So there'll be a separate area for those exhibits. There'll be a wonderful polar salon with 200 frames of competitive exhibits. This is an exhibit, a show in parallel to the FIP competition. There'll be postal administrations, societies interested in polar exploration themes, a number of glass cases with artifacts borrowed from different museums and private collectors. And we're hoping to secure a stuffed polar bear from the Greenland Post Office, which has been an attractive display at other polar salons throughout the world. There'll be a non-competitive German salon. By the way, the Polar Salon will have its own judging corps of 4 judges. If any of you is interested, let us know, and I will give you the prospectus, which we have almost completed. The German Salon will be a non-competitive exhibition. The World Cinderella Congress takes place every few years, will take place at Boston. There'll be ephemera exhibits, as I mentioned before, and of course, a youth section, a beginners area adjacent, and a large philatelic literature area with a little theater for presentations and book signings, etc., etc. Again, I'm sorry. What other events have been confirmed to take place during Boston 2026? Well, as I mentioned, we're part of Revolution 250, which celebrates the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence and the events that led to that. We expect to have a number of celebrations at the show and in the area related to this commemoration. The signing of the Roll of Distinguished Philatelists will take place during Boston 2026. There's 3 large continental federations, one for the Americas, one for Europe, one for the rest of the world, or Asia. We belong to the Inter-American Federation of Philately, which meets annually to hold its assembly. In 2026, the assembly will take place at Boston 2026, at our show. The Cinderella collectors will have a signing of the roll of notable Cinderella philatelists. We expect to have the Universal Postal Union Philatelic Marketing Conference and perhaps a National Postal Forum at or close to the time of Boston 2026. And briefly, how can you help? You can obviously donate. You can volunteer. We expect to need 500 volunteers for the show. That's what New York had. You can schedule meetings and events at the show, and of course, attend the show. You can exhibit. You can book rooms at the hotel block and book tables and attend the Palmares dinner. And of course, we welcome your ideas, suggestions, comments, criticism. Here's my email and Mark Butterline's email. And now I'm happy to entertain any questions. Thank you so much for your attention. Oh.
Jeff, do we have some questions?
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yes, there were some questions about the hotel, asking about what was the other hotel that was mentioned, and that's the Omni. Um, just so you know, Brian mentions that your comment of collectors collect. He said, well said, and he looks forward to a show that has a mix of books, maps, and ephemera, and it all sounds awesome since they can all have a topical thematic connection. And there was just one final question that Mark Butterline had answered. The question was, what percent of the tables do you expect will be from dealers, etc., outside of North America? And Mark had answered about a third of the dealers will be. So I just wanted to get those out from the chat for anyone that didn't see them in the chat.
Right, so far, and that includes auction houses, but we're aggressively marketing the show both in the US and abroad, and we still have a little over, close to 2 years to do so.
Okay.
I think
Another
I saw
question.
that. Oh, go ahead.
No, it's okay, Don.
I saw that Mike Vagnetti had a question. Mike, did you put that in the chat? Yeah, you're muted.
Yeah, I put it in the chat. My question was, will the non-philatelic displays be intermingled with the philatelic people, or will they be in a separate area?
We plan a separate area for now.
Okay.
Because it's
But
easier.
it's all on the same floor.
Mhm. Right, and in the same room. I mean, some exhibits you have to go from one room, walk out and go to a different room. This is all contiguous. And I didn't mention other things. I mean, I can talk for hours, but there'll be a lounge for donors of $1,000 or more called the Minuteman Club, with a place to sit, snacks, refreshments, beer, coffee. That will be on the show floor as well.
I'm wondering about exhibiting. Most of us that have exhibited at the National Topical Stamp Show have exhibited only in the United States, and I know that we would be under the FIP rules if we try to exhibit in Boston. I'm wondering if we could get a program from someone knowledgeable on those differences and how we go about entering an exhibit in an FIP type setting.
Yes, we can do that as we get close to the show. Your exhibits qualify. You have to have at least the excuse me, Lasberg Mail medal to be able to exhibit at FIP shows. You would qualify for 5 frames with a new exhibit, and typically these shows try to reserve about a quarter of the exhibit space for new exhibitors. That's the goal. Historically, these shows have been heavily oversubscribed. New York had about 30% more applications than they had capacity for. That's our challenge, to try not to disappoint anyone by doing our best effort to have as many frames as possible at the show.
Thank you.
Yamil, I have a question. Will there be a section for one frame exhibits?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And still no medals, right? Only certificate.
Well, we're gonna give a medal. The FIP doesn't call it a gold medal; they call it, a 90-point medal or whatever. But we plan to give the one frame exhibits a show medal. The medal, we plan to have the same medal for everybody, with on the back a little transparent, sticker indicating the medal level, the name of the exhibit, and the exhibitor.
Thank you.
We have another question in the chat. Will there be more Cinderella sheets issued before the show?
Yes, we're working on it as we speak. It will be unveiled on the Friday of Gas in Hartford. By the way, there'll also be a U.S. Postal Service stamp commemorating Boston 2026 to be released at Gas 2025 in Schaumburg, Illinois. We don't have the details of the design. Obviously, it's kept secret, but we can plan on that for next year's Gas.
And another question, when will you start the registration for exhibits, actually?
Mark, you want to take that one?
End of the year. The bulletin, we're gonna have a bulletin in May, but that's not going to address exhibiting issues. But we will have another bulletin, a second bulletin towards the end of this year, and that'll have all the rules. And we'll put up the system on the website for registering exhibits. I don't know exactly when we're going to turn it on, either the end of this year or beginning of next year, but it'll be around then.
Thanks.
Okay, if there are no more, thank you very much, Yamil. Very informative and really looking forward to this international and all the effort that everyone's putting into making it a success.
Thank you for having us. And if you want an update closer to the show, we're happy to do that. We're happy to do that. If you want the latest information, you can log on to our website, boston2026.org. We have regular press releases and updates. And you can also join our mailing list if you want to share your email. We'll be sending you updates as they happen.
That all sounds wonderful, and I would alert all the ATA members that there is in the new issue of Topical Time. It just came out. A wonderful feature by Tom Fortunato about the show and about all of the topics you can collect related to Boston, so you can get started now.
Saw it already.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Yamil, so much.
Thank you.
We're so excited about this event, and ATA is very pleased to be a supporter of this wonderful show coming up, and can't come too soon. Probably you don't agree with that, but we are anxious.
Yes.
Well,
Thanks so much.
thank you for being our partner, and we look forward to working together to make it the best show in the history of philately. That's all we're aiming for. Nothing less than that.
No pressure.
That's great. Thank you, everyone,
you.
for coming, and we'll see you next time.